Brent, can you do me a favor and quit asking me to make all these crazy videos? Everybody already thinks I'm crazy. He wants me to make a video about my experience with clones because people think I'm crazy because I believe in clones. Well, let me tell you, I've not always believed in clones. It's just that Vladimir Putin told me brain to brain that they exist. It was the only thing that explained the strange Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde behavior of people like my mother and some of my coworkers at work. Like, I would go to work one day, and a person that I work with, it was like they had a totally different personality. And it was like one day they were my friend, and the next day they were my enemy. And I thought, what is going on here? It was really confusing. And I would go to Vladimir and say, Vladimir, what's going on? What is happening to this coworker? It's like one day they seem to be on our side, the side of me and Brent and Vladimir, and then like the next day you show up and it's a totally different person. They look just like the person, but it's, and Vladimir told me that this is a clone of the person that you worked with. The Jesuits apparently around the 1920s discovered cloning technology, and they've kept this a big secret from everybody. They don't want people to know about it because of what they're doing with these clones. It's criminal. And you may say, oh, come now, how can this be possible? They have been doing this for years. The only people they don't clone are people with a strong Jewish genetic profile or a strong royal genetic profile, because they want to eliminate the Jewish race so Jews don't get cloned. I realize I'm talking about profiles here. Just because somebody's Jewish doesn't mean they won't have a clone. But if they have a strong Jewish genetic profile, even if their religion is not Jewish, that's like me, because I have there aren't any clones of me because of my genes. But there's a clone of I have seen Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde behavior in all of my family members. You might say, well, maybe this is just their personality. I've just seen it too much. It's like the person is one person one day and another person the next day. And it's like they're your friend one day, and then the next day, everything they say and do seems like it's designed to help out the Jesuits. You may say, be more specific. Well, for instance, I'll have a manager at work call me aside and into his office, and you can tell that they're against me and that they're trying to support the Jesuits. And I have a very good relationship at Walmart, okay? And Walmart let me tell you something, Walmart would get behind me on this, the Walmart company, because they're having a big problem with this right now, and with clone managers coming in there who are trying to sabotage the company. Brent, I really don't want to talk about this. Anyways, it's basically, how else can I explain that so many people seem to have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality? Okay, you may say, how do they do it? They kidnap the authentic person, and sometimes they even hold them hostage. And this, I know this sounds wild, but these Jesuits are crazy anyway. And so actually one time I think they shipped my mother like overseas, and I was dealing with her clone for years, though at that time I didn't know that. I thought maybe they somehow took over her brain, and they could make a really good comedy movie out of this. I'm serious. All I can say is, how do you explain the fact that there are so many people that seem to have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality? You may say, well, everybody's schizophrenic. No, I don't think so. Vladimir Putin is the one who told me about this, brain to brain. He discovered it. In fact, he's used his own clone in the news media. He has a clone of himself, and that clone's been pretty good, but one time that clone misbehaved and actually held. Anyways, I've said enough, Brent. This is enough. I really don't want to talk about this. Let's just put it this way, okay? Vladimir has informed me that that cloning technology is out there. It's been around since the 1920s. Just about everybody has a clone. And the only people who don't are those with a strong Jewish or royal genetic profile. And what the Jesuits do is if they want to use a clone on you, they'll kidnap the authentic person, hold them hostage or bring them somewhere else. And to be honest with you, I don't understand all the ins and outs of how the Jesuits are doing this, but they are able to transfer memories. So the clone can have a almost perfect recall of the person they're impersonating. And they're able to transfer memories and obviously you're going to look and sound just like the person because you're the clone. So they take the authentic person, relocate them somewhere else, and then they use the clone. Sometimes they'll kill the real person. And this is where it gets really bad. What's really bad about this technology is this is the perfect way to commit murder. You can murder somebody and then replace them with their clone and nobody will know you murdered them. And the Jesuits are doing this. It's really disgusting. But, Brent, I've said enough. Okay? But basically, my experience with clones has been, how do I explain so many people with a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality? I mean, it's like with my mother. One day she's my friend, and the next day she's the friend of the Jesuits. She's trying to help out the Jesuits against me. You might say, what do you mean? I mean, I know the Jesuits are trying to write me off as crazy and all this stuff, and I can tell when I'm with a person who's trying to help them out. And when I deal with, like, my mother or some of my coworkers, and one day they seem to be helping out me and Vladimir and Brent, and then the next day they seem to be helping out the Jesuits, I can tell I'm dealing with two different personalities. How else do you explain it except for cloning? And it's like the person has goals to help to be your friend one day, and then the next day they're on the side of your enemies. And I thought, what's going on, Vladimir? Did they take over my mother's brain and brainwash her against me? And then Vladimir and I didn't know for a while. We thought maybe they were using some sort of brain control technology, and we figured out it was cloning, that they had actually replaced the person with a clone. So, I actually had my stepdad come to me and say, your mother's acting really strange, and she's doing, it took us a couple years to figure it out, because Jesuits really have been good at covering this up. Anyways, this is all I want to say on this. This is a bore to me. I mean, all I can say is, I think, and I check out Isaiah 57 on my first webpage, what I have to say, God knew clones would exist. It's in the Bible. Check out Isaiah 57. Check out my first webpage towards the bottom. And now Brent, because I'm doing what you want, even more people are going to think I'm crazy. But he said some people really believe in me and what I have to say, and for their sakes, he said, just make this video. So I'm going to go now.